yeah, already late. Let's get started. Alright, welcome to the channel, everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. Welcome to, I guess, I'd say welcome to Virginia, but also welcome to Alaska, because that's what we're going to be doing. I'm Eric. I'm your host, your photographer, your editor tonight. And yeah, this is what tonight's stream is going to be. I just got back from a trip to Alaska. Did a 7-day kind of cruise with a bunch of scientists down along the down along the peninsula. First Alaska fact of the night. So you know how if you're from Michigan, they do a little hand to show like where they're from, because it's kind of like that, because Michigan's a mitten. Alaska's like this. This is Alaska. So like the main area up here, this is your peninsula. Like your Anchorage is here. Your Fairbanks is kind of up in here somewhere. Nome is up over here, and then Japan is right over here. So anyway, so I did the lower peninsula called the Inside Passage. And I haven't sorted through all of them yet. So there's still a decent number that I'm probably going to delete that are, the focus isn't quite right or the framing's a little bit off. But current count is over 2,100 photos. So yeah, got our work cut out for us. So this is for the foreseeable future. We're going to be doing a lot of Alaska photo editing tonight. Tonight what I put together is kind of a sample of sort of just a mix of some of the cool things I saw. We got a little bit of wildlife, we got some great landscapes, we got some little details, some different types of landscapes, some mixed with civilization in quotes. Some mixed with like cityscape and stuff, and some just the mountains and the nature. And we got a glacier in there, so that'll be fun. I'll be talking Alaska facts all night. I'll be doing all kinds of Alaska things. I have huckleberry. You can't even read it. Huckleberry jelly beans. Nope, too dark, too bright. Darn, the color white is a problem. Anyway, huckleberry jelly beans from Alaska, and fireweed tea, which I have not tried yet. Fireweed being one of the, it grows in other places, but it's one of the things that's kind of specific to that thumb of Alaska. Okay, yeah, I think okay. It's not bad. The instructions I was finding for it were to use boiling water and steep it for 15 minutes, which felt a little bit much, but that's what I found on multiple sites, so I thought I'd try that. And that is very, very dry. It makes sense. It was steeping for 15 minutes. I may try to treat that more like a green tea or an oolong next time I do it, but it's not bad. It's got a good woodsy flavor, and jelly beans are great. So, with all that said, just to kind of quickly drop through the usual spiel, the reason I do this, the reason I like to stream editing is because editing is such a hugely important part of photography and film, and just I got jelly bean in my mouth. It's so good. Anyway, photography editing is such a hugely important part of it, and so often, and you will there are tons of times where I will see professional photographers who I love and whose work I really adore, and they're very open with here's where I took the photo, and here's the cool story about getting to the place, and here's the camera I used, and here's the lens and all the settings, but they don't talk about the editing process, and that to me is that's you're leaving out a huge chunk of it. And so there are some photographers I know who do share their editing process, but more often than not, it's behind a paywall on their site. It's one of the things that they do charge for, and it's such an essential part of it that I think it's I want to pull the curtain back as much as I can. If you like this kind of thing and want to see someone of a higher caliber than me do it, the YouTube account Expressive Photography, and the photographer Alistair Ben, that's his channel. He does a lot of just demo editing and talks about why he edits the photos the way he does, and he's fantastic. He's the one who inspired me to start doing this. But yeah, so I do it to pull the curtain back, to kind of share what I'm working on, and to share the just decisions I make. And if there's things I do that you like, if there's things I do where you're like, I hate it the way that turned out, by all means, say something and share it, because I as much as conversational as this format allows us to be, I would love that. All right, here we go. Let's get into Lightroom. So here we are in Adobe Lightroom, which is their, if you're not familiar, Adobe Lightroom is their, Amy, I saw that message and now you've retracted it. But anyway, yeah, so Adobe Lightroom is their, like, Photoshop is more their graphic design, and their, okay, Amy, I see what you changed. It's like a glitch in the Matrix. But yeah, so Photoshop is more not creative, but more like for the creation of something. Versus where, like, you can, you're adding text, you're adding graphics, you're moving things around, and, like, kind of it's more the graphic design. Lightroom is less adding and more just shaping. Lightroom is more for what's already there. So here's what we've got tonight. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's get a view up here. This is the reason I'm the reason I'm late to starting the stream tonight is because I have not sorted through all the photos, so I picked out the ones I liked, and then it took me forever to import like 2 or 3 from each folder, because they all have a huge amount of stuff in them. So yeah, we're gonna be going through kind of a smattering. Some of my favorites, some that there are certainly photos that we're not gonna talk about tonight. They're absolute dream shots of mine, and I can't wait to share them. But I'm waiting for the opportune moment. But yeah, okay, let's get started with, let's see. Let's start with this shot. I'm kind of gonna do this in the order we sort of. I'm not gonna do it in the order we went places, but we're gonna start here. So this is a shot from Vancouver, which is where our journey began. I'll be sprinkling in Alaska facts throughout the whole night. But yeah, so this is a shot from Vancouver. This is, I believe, this is from Stanley Park, which is kind of a little peninsula off on the western side of Vancouver. But one thing I'm such an absolute sucker for mountains, and like see mountains like this. And I also I had a lot of fun on this trip, and I think this is one of the only photos tonight that really does it. But I had a lot of fun with layers, and just with the layering of like what's in the distance, and the certain peaks that are closer, certain areas that are closer. So I had a lot of fun with that on this trip. So a lot of the photos you see are going to lean into that. But this is the first one we're looking at. And this is just, again, doing the connection between the fact that you can get a boat on the water, like a recreational boat. You've got this whole little suburban area. This is kind of the outskirts of Vancouver, because technically downtown Vancouver is behind me in this picture. They got the trees and the very wildernessy area over there, and then you've got the more mountainous area, more like less people aren't living here. You've just got the trees and that eventually gives way. You have a couple spots here that break the timber line, and you give way to the rocky mountaintops with the snowfields and the ice up there. So that's, there's a lot of photos like this. This photo kind of is almost a thesis for what I did. So let's start my usual plan of just let's play with sliders. Let's see what we get. Okay, boom. Yep, no, we're going to be dehazing. We're going to dehaze a lot of these photos, I think, because there's a lot. I mean, I've got a lot of photos, and you'll see one later tonight. One of the things people don't tell you about Alaska, especially that southeast Alaska, is that it is so incredibly rainy. It is like on average, that area of Alaska, and most of Alaska that isn't far enough north to just be snow all the time, which is the majority of Alaska. Like a lot of Alaska, the idea of Alaska being just covered in snow is actually it's not year round, and in most places it doesn't even it's not even half a year round. So there's a lot of fun preconceptions of Alaska that I got that were disabused on this trip, and one of them being the climate, because Alaska is so the interesting thing about Alaska is, it's funny, like our group we've got a photographer that we work with, or that connects with us, or who sort of has a collaborative thing with Steve Spangler, and he actually got it right here. Hang on a second. He gave us a book of a photographic excursion of Alaska, and so many of these photos are taken on these like bright and sunny days, like with this clear blue skies and stuff, and especially in southeast Alaska, you don't really get that. I mean, this was a moderately sunny day, but for the majority of our, I mean, this is British Columbia, this isn't Alaska, but for the majority of our trip, we were in fog. We were in fog. We were in clouds. Most of the areas down there have 250 plus days of rain a year. The sun is very rainy, and in Ketchikan, which is we got some photos from Ketchikan that we'll be looking at, and also I'm wearing a t-shirt from Ketchikan, from a rainforest in Ketchikan. There's an Alaskan rainforest. I'll talk about that. But Ketchikan gets something like 315 days of rain a year. Their average rainfall is over 160 inches of rain. So, and it makes the reason that happens. Here we go. We're not even editing photos. We're just talking geography and geology. Is that you get water, blowing, and the currents in the Pacific Ocean blowing moisture and water onto the shore, over towards the land and towards Alaska. That water hits Alaska. Hits the mountain range that's right there. I believe it's I'm not sure exactly what range it is up there because I know it's the Chilkat Mountains are in there, but I don't think it's all the Chilkats. Which great name. But water hits the mountains, goes up, gets cold, comes down as rain. And if you're curious, that's also the reason Seattle gets as much rain as it is because it's in the shadow of Mount Rainier. So. A lot of rain, a lot of fog. We're in a lot of the photos. Like I had a lot of fun with the photos with fog. But anyway, look. So we're gonna spend a lot of time de-hazing on some of these shots, just to kind of pull that fog out. Though when we get to shots like this, let me see what happens if I de-haze this. Actually, that still kind of keeps it. We're gonna be de-hazing a lot of this just to really get. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with those photos. That's actually part of a panorama. We'll come back to that. That's Ketchikan. That's the temperate rainforest in Alaska. But let's look at this one. This one. I was expecting. I picked these photos because I thought they were a good kind of overall collection of what I got. But this, like, look at this photo. I'm like, there's not a whole lot I think I need to do with this. This is like with the de-hazing. This just pulls the colors out beautifully. And I'm in I forget how good the quality of this camera is sometimes. I forget but yeah, I think I'll adjust the. I'm curious. If I tell this thing to select the subject, what is it going to give me? Is it going to give me the boat, or is it going to give me the foreground area here? Might give me this whole bottom area. Or I can't find a subject. That's also possible. It's not that algorithm is written to get to find people. I think more than anything else. All right, so we're gonna work with color down here. So we got our blues. We could push them a little more toward green if we wanted to. Yeah, I'm gonna push that just a tiny bit toward green. Let it go a little bit that way. I'm gonna bring up the saturation on the greens a little bit. We're gonna bring up the saturation of the blues. What if I bring the aquas up? Like there being as much. Okay. Let's push the aquas that way. Push the green stock. Nah, really the greens where they are. The green. Those beautiful evergreen trees are just can't beat them. Keep that where it is. We can go a little bit like that. I don't want to pull away from that. I really like those colors. It's actually coming out really nicely. But if anybody's wondering. Fun fact: this mountain being kind of a dark blue. This is probably the origin of the idea of the purple mountain majesty. Is kind of what you get with a lot of these mountains. Is they rise up higher above the ground. They kind of dip into the sky, and you get that blue that almost looks purple. Yeah, there's actually a lot of purple in that. If I take it out, it comes out pretty nicely. Okay. Magenta hanging out there? Not really. But yeah, that's adjusting the brightness of purple. It's impressive how much purple is actually in that. I didn't realize how much was there. We're gonna bring it down though. I want to be able to I don't want to lose the detail up there. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of masking as we go through this. It's pretty good. Let's bring up a little bit of orange down there to bring up kind of those curtains. curtains, furniture, something like that. Some nice orange in there with that tree as well. And then down here on the beach, we've got we got the sand, so they'll bring up the oranges there. I like that. Let's see. A little too much texture to texture the whole thing, but ooh, okay, yeah, let's do a little bit of clarity. Yeah, I don't want to clarity the whole thing, but a little bit's not bad. Then I'll do more once I select these mountains because I want to get them. All right, let's try. Let me try a color mask. So I can get this thing, just select the mount. That's pretty good actually. Can refine it a bit. So yeah, I'll do it up to there. That seems good, and then I'll do a subtract brush. And kind of get rid of everything down here, so we're not. Yeah, so we're just affecting the mountains up there. Go check my phone here. I absolutely love that people actually watch this. It makes my day. It really does. Let me do a color overlay on black and white. There we go. That helps, so I can see really what we're dealing with, what we're not. I was doing some photo editing on my tablet because I've got Lightroom on my tablet, and man, let me tell you, that is for some reason it is easier for me to do this with a mouse than just to do it with a stylus. I don't want this to be perfectly cut out. I'm probably going to adjust my flow a little bit here in a sec, but yeah, there we go. It's pretty, a little bit bleeding over is not too bad. It kind of helps, it'll help with that transition. Let's also clear up the sky up here. There's not much up here. It did a pretty good job of, there's a little bit of blue in that sky, so we'll pull some of that out. Cool. So, done. Good. So now we've selected that area. Let's get that mask back. Here we go. And this is where I'm going to up the texture and up the clarity. Let those mountains really pop. Like that. I can also bring the saturation down a little bit. Do I want to though? I do kind of like that. Get a little more contrast there. Pretty happy with that overall. Yeah, I want to have that detail in there. I really do. I'm gonna bring the texture down a bit though. I think we're gilding the lily a tiny bit there. Bring the blacks down. Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun bringing in just the texture of the mountains and everything up there, because that is really just unbelievably beautiful. Fun fact, the shadow up here is the shadow of a cloud, which is always a thing that I love to look for in mountains. That's what we're missing. There we go. Leaning into the purple a little bit actually really helps. Something like that. That is pretty good. Done. Alright, let me come. Was I adjusting the blue saturation? I wasn't. I can bring it down a little bit. Nah, let's see where it is. I can adjust the blues a little bit more toward green. But, no, you know what? I like it. Maybe a tiny, tiny bit, but I like it a lot where that is. Cool. Take it back. Let's bring the saturation down a touch. Yeah, alright. So there's one photo. That is our first photo of Alaska. Done. That's Vancouver. All right. Let's see. Where do we want to go next? You know what? Let's pepper some wildlife in here. Let's take a look at this whale, or the tail of this whale, which. Yeah, no, those mountains. The mountains out there. Wait, oh my God. I've got a couple really good color ones coming up. But that one's a good one. All right, let's take a look at. Let's do something. Let's enjoy this whale. And let me tell you. Like I will go ahead and start teasing right now. This is. I have several very good whale shots from this trip. Didn't get any shots of whales like breaching and coming out of the water, but I got pretty much the next best thing on a lot of fronts. So we got a lot of good whale shots. I intentionally picked one that I like but wasn't the best. So we got a lot of good whale stuff coming. Let's look at this whale. This is a humpback whale. I believe, I don't remember exactly. There was one whale that was kind of hanging out with our boat, who's named Vendetta. Believe it or not, they actually named that whale. Know where that whale hangs out. But okay, this picture's gonna be a little bit different. Yeah, we're doing this one a little bit differently. This was not Vendetta. This was one of a pair of younger juveniles who were kind of doing shallow dives over by the. Well, I say shallow dives. The water here is probably 300 feet deep, but shallowish feeding dives over here by the shore. What am I shooting this at? I was at 273 millimeters, which is on my longest lens. So yeah, that's what we got here. Okay, so this photo. Again, talking a little more about layers. I was trying to connect everything to the context. So whale, and the subject of this picture is the distance from the whale to the shore, which I think is very cool. All right, now the trick with this one. Let me try select subject again. Let's see if it gives me the whale tail. And I've got some great wildlife photos tonight, and I'm doing them in order of least impressive to most impressive, at least in my opinion. This is still a cool photo, but I got two really fucking good ones coming. All right, so we got our whale there, which I will increase the texture on. That's about all I think I want to do with it. Bring up the whites. Yeah, bring up the whites a little bit, because that's going to bring up that's going to highlight the water droplets coming off. Ooh, let's up the clarity as well. Again, highlighting the water. Excellent, good. Okay. Next thing, we're going to do a linear brush, and we're going to do the trees up here, because I want to de-haze the trees, and I want to kind of get that shoreline to pop a little more than it is right now. So we're de-hazing, get some nice color in there. We're going to brighten that up a bit. So we're going to bring the highlights, bring the whites a bit. There we go. De-haze a little bit more. Bring up the texture. Ooh, texture. You know, if I bring up the clarity, that's too much. Let's leave that where it was. Do it like that. Let's bring the texture up a little bit. Have some fun with the color once we get there. Make it all greener, but something like that. Now, interesting fact. We spent a lot of time with a naturalist and with several park rangers, especially when we were in Glacier Bay. But this whole trip was a bunch of scientists, for the most part, science educators. So we talked a lot about the ecology of Alaska, and also I went to the Museum of Anthropology in Vancouver, where they talk a lot about the geology matters and the ecology matters, and the reason Vancouver is among many other First Nations, is the home to the Haida Gwaii people, who are probably many First Nations up here used totem poles. Haida Gwaii are one of the most famous ones. They're one of the ones who are at least best preserved, as far as I know. The Museum of Anthropology is almost exclusively their totem poles and their carvings, but because Vancouver is near the island that was I think still is the home of the Haida Gwaii. Also, wonderful thing about Vancouver. And they did this in Alaska a bit as well, but everything in Vancouver, everywhere we went in Vancouver, whether we went to the Museum of Anthropology, or we went to Stanley Park, or we saw basically their version of Shakespeare in the park, which is Bard on the Beach, and then we went to the Vancouver Aquarium. Everywhere we went, anytime someone was talking or starting a talk or starting a thing, they included and opened with that we were standing on the unceded land of the Musqueam, the Squamish, the First Nations land, who do still own that land and still have do still like it really like they do own it. They are included in decisions. There's a I've got a picture on my phone of like there was a water park in Stanley Park. It's like one of those like splash pad things. Where there's a whole bunch of like fountains and things that kids can run around and play in. And it was closed. And there was a sign up that said we're working to either to see if there's a way that we can renovate and refurbish this, or come up with something new, and whatever we decide, whatever we want to try, we will of course we'll have to get the approval of like the Stanley Park community board that kind of helps shape the park, and also the First Nations on whose unceded land this sits. And so it was cool to see. I don't know. It's can't say it's like the relationship it should be between First Nations and what have turned into Americans, Canadians, whatever, because it doesn't change the history, it doesn't change the crimes that white people committed, but it is cool to see that was acknowledged. And something that's interesting, and the reason I've been zoomed in on these trees for this long, is because I believe these are Sitka spruce, which are a lot of the trees up here are Sitka spruce and a red cedar, and those are both hugely important trees in terms of their usability for totem poles, for canoes, for building, for various things. And those trees' existence here is one of the reasons that First Nations people originally settled in these areas. That and the fishing. So something that's worth noting, and things that I learned. So this is turning into an ecology talk as much as it is I'm supposed to be editing photos. But I also like that there's two different colors of trees here. So we got the darker spruce ones here with a little bit of red in them, and then the more green, kind of shrubby evergreen ones down here by the shore. And then we got the whale, which we can't forget. It's always good to remember the whales. All right. That's good. All right, so bring up the blues a little bit there. I like this isn't a full blue. It gives it like I think this photo deserves a bit of a lighter touch, and that actually works quite well to do that. Might darken it down a little bit, kind of halfway, just so that the whale tail definitely sticks out. Not that it doesn't, but I want to enhance that a bit. All right, we got some orange along the shoreline. Let's lean into that. We got a little bit of yellow. Let's lean into that. Make it look a little bit sun-kissed. Can't go wrong with that. I'm gonna brighten it up a bit, so we still keep the brightness. And let's look at our green. And also, I think the orange is there a little bit. Okay, let's keep that where it was. Let's put the reds. A little bit of red in there, not so much. A little bit though. I think a little bit of red is helping the. Red's not really doing much on this one. Let me go back to where's that mask I did of the top. Let me take that, put that back more, a little bit, kind of. A little far, went to 35. Let's split the difference and go to 17. Something like that. That's a little better. So we're not quite as green, which means I should be able to come down here, and now we'll get a little bit more. Let's bring up the orange. It actually looks pretty good though. Let's keep that up a little bit. But yeah, that gives us a little more of a difference between the evergreens here and the Sitka spruce up there. Cool. That's a pretty straightforward photo. I don't mind that at all. What's in black and white? Black and white. There's gonna be I'm gonna do a lot of whale shots in black and white. That's actually not bad. I think there's gonna be better ones. So I'm gonna leave that where it is. Did I do anything with the texture? I thought I did. I did. I brought the texture up and the De-Haze up. That's good. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. This is a humpback whale. Shelby Lynn, I just saw your comment. This is a humpback whale. It's a young humpback whale. Don't know male or female. Usually. From what that is strong. It's good. It's weird. Like, Maria Lisa made a comment about like, I'm drinking tea that's steeped for 15 minutes. This might shoot me into the stratosphere, and I'm feeling something between the eyes on that one. But anyway, interesting thing about at least from I'm sure oceanographers and naturalists can look at this whale and tell me tell me the gender of it or the sex of it. Oh, and I do have a fun story about people weirdly applying gender and sexual norms to animals. I'll tell that story as I work on the next photo. But yeah, this as far as I understand, at least from my perspective, I know the way to kind of distinguish young, like, you don't often see whales breaching in Alaska. Because breaching is a social behavior, and that's typically done like up there in Alaska to feed, and then they go down south and like the southern Pacific, Hawaii, in that area, to mate and to do all their social stuff. So, that's fine. So yeah, when when you see whales breaching up in Alaska, it is mostly because they're practicing social behaviors, and usually that's a male. Usually it's young males doing that. Did see a couple whales breaching. Didn't get photos, unfortunately, because they're quick, but did see a couple whales breaching out in Glacier Bay. So, but here, not sure. Definitely a young humpback whale, but not sure of the gender. All right, let's do this shot, which is a decent mountain shot. This is in Skagway. Which is a fascinating little town, because it is the kind of was the headquarters, for lack of a better word, of the Yukon Gold Rush. It was a town that sprung up because people had to get over the Chilkat Mountains, and getting over the Chilkat Mountains meant okay. So the story of the gold rush in Alaska, and I'll do the short version is a whole bunch of very confident idiots, about 100,000 of them, saw that gold was a possibility and immediately left everything behind and sprinted up to Alaska to try to get to the Yukon in Canada to go find all the gold there. And Canada very quickly got sick of Americans with no survival experience coming up to Alaska, crossing into Canada, and then dying of exposure. So the Canadians set up a law and a checkpoint that said, okay, if you want to cross into Canada to go prospecting, you must bring with you literally 2,000 pounds of things. It was food, literally food for a year, plus a whole bunch of additionals, like certain you had to have enough certain clothing, and you had to have like waterproof clothing and this kind of suits and this many socks and this many and also like. You need a frying pan and this and a pickaxe and a shovel and so on. So people would take ships up to Alaska, Skagway, and Skagway kind of is kind of one of the spots where is kind of the closest spot to cross into the Yukon, because you're heading for Dawson City in Canada. But Skagway was one of those closest spots, so people they'd get off their boats with 2,000 pounds of gear. It took several trips, and then they would get that gear kind of arranged at the base of the mountain, and then they take a whole bunch of trips up and down the mountain to get everything up into the Canadian border. And these people just lugged 2,000 pounds of stuff across miles and miles and miles, trying to get up to northern Canada, to a territory that, as far as I know, is still pretty sparsely populated. But anyway, so this picture was taken. Anyway, so the point of that story is that Skagway, the town of Skagway, kind of came into existence as that hub of stop here, get your stuff together, and then head up the mountain. This picture here was taken from the White Pass Railroad, which is a train that takes you up takes you up that route. There's actually a picture I took that's not on Lightroom tonight, but like it show you can see the original trail people walked up. It's like right across a little creek from the train tracks. So that's a thing that you can see. But anyway, Skagway was actually one of my favorite spots on the trip. But Skagway has a permanent resident population of 800 people, with an additional tourist population of about 12,000 daily. So Skagway is a very utilitarian town. It runs on tourism almost exclusively. But anyway, we took a train kind of up the same path that people one of the paths. There were a couple different paths that you would take from Skagway to get up over the Chilkat Mountains and into Canada to start heading to Dawson City and to get to the Yukon. And this train took us up one of the paths, which I think it's the shorter and the steeper of the two. Which is funny because the other trail is based on a First Nations trail. It was a trail that the people who had lived up here used, and then a whole bunch of Americans showed up and said, "Nah, there's a quicker way, and it's steeper, and we're men, and we'll take it." And you know, bunches and bunches and bunches and bunches died. So, also, complete side note, I know this is a tangent to my tangent. I'm going to start just clicking through stuff just so there's an actual reason to visual things. You're not just listening to me rant. But I do love that when you have, like, you can tell what things up. Okay, this photo is just doing the work itself. You can tell what things up in Alaska were named by white people, which ones were named by First Nations, because the First Nations people usually named like Skagway, I believe, is a translation of to some equivalent of the place where the wind lives. And let me tell you, Skagway's a rainy, windy place, which I loved, honestly. It was very nice not to have to wear sunglasses. But, you know, and then when you let white people name stuff, they name it after the college they went to or after somebody they knew. So you end up with a glacier named Marjorie, which is like, that doesn't tell us a thing, versus Skagway, which if you know the language, you know, it means the place where the wind is, which is pretty sweet. But anyway, yeah, so this is a shot from that train, kind of looking down the river here toward, again, I'm all about layers in this trip, and just, yeah, the trees in the foreground, the kind of, I mean, this tree does sort of break the timberline. Yeah, no, not tree. This mountain breaks the timberline a good bit. But then in the background, you got the mountains that really do and have the snowfields and ice fields on them. Actually, those are snowfields. Those are definitely snowfields. I learned the difference between snowfields, ice fields, and glaciers, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, so this is a photo from Skyway. And this one doesn't need a whole lot of help. This photo actually came out. I mean, I've already done like a decent amount, but this photo actually looks really, really good. It's also just nice to be able to like. All right, let's push our yellows a little bit more toward green. Have that green be a little. I don't know. I actually really like that. Yeah. No, this is. Honestly, like, again, this, like, that photographer, you know, gave us a book of photos that are all, like, bright and sunny days in Alaska, and I'm like, now give me this. This is just gorgeous to me. This is the kind of weather that I absolutely adore. Like, I like cloudy days better than sunny days. It's more complex. More interesting. Yeah, okay. Let's bring up some oranges. Let's make those rocks pop a little bit more. If I bring up the blues, I'm going to give those mountains in the back. And let's give them a little bit of color. Just a little bit. There we go. That's good. If I bring up the texture on this whole thing, I don't know. Looks a little bit too Instagrammy. I'm going to bring it up a little bit, though. I like them a little bit. Okay, this was shot at 24 millimeters. This is one of my wider lenses. And it's funny, when I actually do start talking through glacier photos, I've got shots of the same glacier at 14 millimeter, which is my widest lens, and 600, which is my most zoomed in, and it's stunning the range that I'm able to capture between lenses, and just beautiful shots across the board. But yeah, I've got some great shots from downtown Skagway, looking up at the mountains that really have some beautiful layers in them. But I loved this shot with the river in the foreground. Like, this was absolutely gorgeous to me. Let's look at. I did bring up the greens. I don't know if I need to. I think I can leave the greens. Let's see. I think that's actually affecting the water a little bit. Let's see. What if I click on saturation and adjust the colors of the water? What are you telling me? It's yellow and green. Interesting. Okay, let's undo that. I'm going to try to see if I can blue that water up a little bit. Let me try luminance range. That's actually probably the better option for this because I want to go for the brightness. There we go. Refine that a little more, so it's really just getting that here. I guess I can bring this down, but I don't want to. I want to keep that water kind of like that. Something like that. That works. And we're going to subtract with the brush again, and we're just going to get rid of this whole top area. And yeah, Shakira. Now, honestly, there is a part of me that really, like a substantial part of me lately, that really, if I can find a way to live in a place like this. And I went on a photo excursion with a professional photographer off the trip, and I asked her, like, if you live in Skagway, have you gotten sick of the mountains yet? And she was like, nope, never happens. So I had a little bit of purple there to kind of counteract the green. That makes that water pop really nicely. want to brighten it up too much. A little bit's not bad. That make it really stand out and connect with us. Cool. Get up the clarity, but that's not really gonna do me any good. Texture, nah, I've already done the texture. I think it's fine. Yeah, actually, I kind of like the texture on that a little bit. That is pretty great. I want to do one more. Pretty much doing the same thing, just in reverse. I want to get that sky. So let's come up here to the luminance range. Let's bring this back, so I really just get the sky up there. Let's pull this back a little bit. Yeah, kind of just that much. Yeah, like that. And then we'll subtract. Again, subtract the brush, but this time we're going to subtract the river. This is one of the reasons that I like to stream photo editing, is because there is so much that I can do with these photos to really enhance them and bring out and try to capture the beauty of what was there. Cool. So now I've got that. Now I can make the sky a little brighter, a little more. I don't know, that the texture of it. Yeah, the texture is a better option. How's that doing noise-wise? A little noisy, not too bad really, honestly. And that being that far back and being natural doesn't bother me. I'm gonna increase the noise reduction on that one just a bit. Yeah, this Shelby Lynn, I agree. This photo really does. I'm having trouble. Like, I'm gonna finish editing this and come back and look at it a bunch of times. This is probably my favorite of the. I don't want to say favorite of the group tonight. I've got the next few or some like. I'm gonna have so much trouble. Like, normally I'm pretty good at being able to go through my photos and be like, yeah, not that one, this one, that one, this one, and cut down the numbers pretty substantially. I don't know how I'm gonna do that on this trip. There's a lot of these photos that I just can't not love. All right, let's see. I want to introduce a little bit of color to there. Push that a little toward blue. Push it a lot toward blue if I really wanted to. Now I kind of like having the. Yeah, I kind of like having just having that up there. I'm actually having just the white up there. I'm actually gonna de-haze this a little bit, make it a little brighter. So as I'm adding the texture, I'm adding a little clarity. Bring the saturation down. Yeah, bring the saturation up and pulling that blue out. It kind of makes it mold it with the mountains. All right, cool. All right, a little much. Let's bring that down so I'm not getting that. Little bits of some weird color stuff, but yeah, boom. That looks good. That one looks so fucking good. Save that. Well, Stephanie, you would not be the first. You would not be the first to set up camp up there. And like, since you're not looking for gold, I think you're probably going to do a better job than most of the people who went up there. But I can tell you, of the 100,000 people who went up to the Yukon looking for gold, only about 400 of them actually made a profit. And I believe something in the nature of 30 or 40,000 died on this trip. So there's that. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's continue. Let's do another Skagway photo. Which this is technically Canada. This is technically a shot in Canada because this is the photography excursion I did, where we went up to, we went up to Canada, across the border. And an interesting fact: you got the Canadian border. 6 miles into the U.S. is the U.S. checkpoint, and 6 miles into Canada, give or take, is the Canadian checkpoint. So we crossed the border, which, if you're my friend on Facebook, my cover photo is crossing that border from Canada into Alaska. And you don't often get to say you headed south into Alaska. That's not a common phrase you get to say, but we got to for that moment. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this photo kind of be like this. I'm gonna see what I pull out of the sky here. But yeah, so this shot was actually taken in Canada. We didn't cross into the Canadian border, into Canadian customs, but oh, there we go. That's what the De-Haze tool can do. Look at that. There's your purple mountains and your drops of water on my lens. Gonna work on that, but yeah, that's what we got. That's beautiful. Hey.
Hi, I noticed Shakira's watching.
Yeah.
Hi, Shakira.
Maria Lisa says hi, Shakira.
And everyone else.
And everyone else, obviously.
Which is Stephanie and Shelby Lynn.
And Amy on and off.
Ah, hello everyone.
Yep. Let's see.
I'm going to sleep.
She's going back to sleep, but she was happy to come in and say hi. And if you don't know what she looks like, imagine just the cutest person ever.
I love you.
She loves me. I love you too. All right, let's see. Let's work on this photo. This is cool. Here's a cool thing. So the water in this lake up here, which looks pretty, like I'm gonna enhance the hell out of this as much as I can because I want to bring up the colors. But you notice the water in this lake is very teal, and that's because this is pretty much all direct glacial melt. This is like fresh water coming directly down from the glaciers and the ice fields. So you get so this water is clear and fresh and absolutely gorgeous, and that's why you get this color, the beautiful color that it has. I don't want to darken too much. I also want to keep this. I want to brighten a lot of this up and let this kind of just be. There we go. All right. Let's keep going with this. Up some blues there. Really pull out those mountains. Maria Elise, if you can hear me, everyone's saying hi. Hello. Yeah, okay, there we go. We're gonna bring the colors, a little bit of color down in there, and we're gonna make the colors in that water really pop. Okay, that's a bit much. I don't want to discount one of the things I loved about being up in this area was the fog, and was there were a bunch of shots that I got, or shots that I wanted to get that I could, that, you know, either I tried to get and missed because the fog was moving so fast it just blew right over the mountains, or that I missed for the same reason, or that I got, you know, and I got a picture and then the second later it was gone. All right, let's select the sky. I want to clean up that sky a little bit. That sky's a bit of a mess. I'm liking the colors for the most part. This one needs a little bit more tweaking, but I really like it. There we go. Got the sky. Got a little bit of a lighter dusting there. That's good. All right, so step one, we're gonna get rid of the noise. Step two, bring the texture down. Kind of let that kind of just live there. I don't really want to dehaze that much more. If I up the clarity, nah, I kind of want to leave it where it is. That's looking pretty good. I could brighten it up a bit. I love it. And on this trip, I did kind of try to, where possible, I tried to sort of overexpose because I know I can usually pull a lot of cool stuff out of the whites if they're not, like, there's some spots here that are overexposed kind of intentionally, but I know there's some spots that aren't, and I can have some fun with. All right, let's come down here and just do a little more color work. Let's bring up our, let's see. I think I want to bring our yellows down a little bit. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with the colors on this one. This one is just gorgeous. I think I want the most vibrant part to be that water. It's not bad. Let's put some purple. I like that. That one needs a little bit of work, but I'm just kind of enjoying sharing this color and this stuff with you. I think I need to adjust the crop on this one too. Let's pull this a little bit. I got a lot of shots on this trip where I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm just like, like how do I'm gonna have a lot of stuff where it's just like I've got just a gorgeous mountain range right through the middle, and I'm gonna figure out what to do with that. Let's see. Aw. Hi, Maria Lisa. Okay, so let's center that kind of between the two peaks. The water in the middle. That is pretty awesome. And if you're wondering why there's patches that aren't quite as blue, it's just because those are shallower areas. So you're seeing the water is so clear, you're seeing the sand on the bottom of the water coming through there, which is why you have those patches that look like they're not quite as they look like they're not quite as dark. That's what that is. The cool thing about glacial ice, I mean, okay, there's a million cool things about glacial ice, but one of the cool things is that because it's frozen, it's literally just snow piled on top of each other, and just the pressure of the snow above it compresses it into ice. So it is free from impurities. It is free from, from all the usual stuff that happens when we freeze water. So you end up it's straight out of the sky, compressed into ice. And from what I understand, the pressure freezing process actually makes a difference in how you freeze it. But if you were to cut a piece of glacial ice off, it is just completely purely clear. It's gorgeous. And so that's how you end up with glacial melt that is this color and also clear enough that these little bits of sand around the shoreline come through. So yeah, that's that photo. That one's I'm probably gonna revisit that at some point, but that's that one. Okay, let's see what else we got. All right, you know what? Glacier. Welcome to Glacier Bay National Park and this thing, which, yeah, that's a 3 or 4 story National Park Service boat. And that's how big the glacier is. And this is not even the biggest glacier in Glacier Bay, and this is also far beyond, a far cry from the size these glaciers used to be. Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna start editing this one because I don't want to not. But let me know in the comments if you want cool glacier facts, because I now know a bunch of cool glacier facts. Alright, so I could go all the way down. I think we're better off just kind of doing it this way and enjoying the scope of the thing. Keeping the water in there. I could come all the way up to here. Yeah, let's go a little lower. It's let that boat sort of be its thing. A little bit. We can put that boat right on the 3rd. Awesome. I take it back. I kind of like the wine. I like the All right. That's before we touch it up. So let's start playing with it. Let's see. Claire's gonna bring out some nice texture. Very cool. De-Haze is gonna do that to it. Hell yes. Whew. Did a good job on this one. So we're gonna De-Haze a little bit of that. Texture is going to be good. I think texture up is a good idea from the start. Clarity, a little bit, yeah. Man, that just pulls it out. This glacier, by the way, and we'll see other glaciers over the course of editing these photos. And this is the only one tonight because I'm saving some of the great stuff for later. But this is the only one tonight. But these glaciers are. This one's probably, if I had to guess, 150 feet tall, from water line to kind of the top of the peak. There's probably 150 feet tall. So the squiggly lines in it, and here's the difference between here's a glacier fact. The difference between a glacier and an ice field. So a lot of these up here, actually, I think I can see the difference in this. Here we go. So here we go. So these are snow fields. These are big areas of snow. They have not. There's some ice there, but it's mostly just snow. It's not big enough. It hasn't compressed enough. Back here is an ice field, and over here, this is an ice field. You can see the snow on top of it. Remember, this is probably at least 200 feet. So you're probably looking at maybe 6 or 7 feet of snow in that little line there. But this is an ice field, and it's compressed to ice. But what makes it different from a glacier is that glaciers move. Ice fields, it's the same content, but a glacier moves. So the squiggly lines, it's a very sexy glacier. It's such a sexy glacier. It has absolutely A+ curves. We're all about this glacier. And this is, I spent a lot of time with a lot of good glaciers on this, so we got a bunch of really good glacier shots coming up. Let's bring up the shadows a little bit. Let's brighten this whole thing up just a touch. I want to keep the detail, but I don't want it to get too dark. That's not bad. But anyway, so glaciers move, and so the squiggly lines, you see, the dirt they bring with them. They bring dirt with them, and they bring it, and it's in this. The dirt on top is probably from rockfall and rocks coming down as the glacier moves through it. And again, glaciers are moving at a very slow pace, but as the glaciers move through, they reshape the landscape beneath them, and around them, and so you agitate rocks, rocks fall down, and you end up with dirt and a layer on top. Here's my favorite glacier fact, which feels like the kind of thing I should have known before now. And I'm gonna kick myself for like letting this one off on the first night because there's so much more to talk about. So many more photos to go through. I'm gonna raise the desk up because I'm getting tired of sitting. But show off my T-shirt from the Alaskan rainforest. But here's the thing about glaciers. I'd always heard glaciers were a huge component of shaping our landscape. And I hadn't really known what that exactly meant, other than just they were a part of our natural world. Here's the thing. If you picture mountains, and like most of the mountains we've looked at so far are this kind of mountain. If you picture mountains, there's two kinds of mountains usually. There's mountains that have the kind of craggy, like more pointy peaks, like this guy. Actually, that maybe not on this one. This is a bit rounded, but you got more of a pointed mountaintop there, and then you've got the peaks that are more rounded, kind of like these guys that definitely have a rounded curve to them. Mountains that have a rounded curve that are rounded at the top, the reason they are rounded is because at some point there was a glacier on top of them. The glacier here is probably 150 to 200 feet tall. These glaciers used to be 4,000 to 5,000 feet tall. These glaciers were on top of these mountains. This line of cloud you see right here, that kind of comes right like that defined line right there, that is more or less the height the glacier used to be at. And so the reason we have rounded mountaintops is because at some point a glacier, which is like an unfathomable weight of ice of ice, moved over it and basically like sandpaper sanded the rough points off, and it's ended up with curved mountaintops. So this glacier at some point was up here, which is absolutely my favorite glacier fact, one of them. But that, yeah. Tune in next time to find out why when you see ice dramatically falling off a glacier, it is not actually a sign of climate change. Not to say, by no means to say that climate change is not happening. Climate change is 1,000% happening, and it's going to kill us all. But pieces falling off a glacier is not a sign of climate change. You have to look. Sorry, you're gonna have to look everywhere else to find all the other signs of climate change. Okay, so let's work on more on this glacier. Let's see. We're gonna play with some color. If I bring up the aquas, what am I gonna get? Tell me I'm gonna. Okay, cool. I'm getting a little bit of that glacier. That's good. If I bring up the blues, I'm gonna get everything. Yeah. Okay. I'll bring the blues down a little bit, actually. No. Man, there's not. I like a lot of this. I like this a lot. This photo doesn't need a whole lot done to it. I don't think. I want to see if I can pull the glacier out a little more. But yeah, it's a beautiful glacier. Let's see. If I tell you to select the subject, you're gonna give me the boat, right? I don't really need the boat. I might brighten the boat up a little bit, but you're gonna give me the boat. You gave me the boat. Perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna bring the highlights on that boat up a little bit. Bring the whites up a little bit. Make the boat stand out a little bit more. Not that it needs it. Okay. The clarity on that. No, that's going to darken the boat up a little too much. Texture up's a good idea. But yeah, no, Alaska is the majority of the year is a very moody landscape, which is really cool. Let's see. Highlights, give me the sky, so we're just going to bring. I don't know where it is, honestly. I really like that. Let's see if I can do a color thing and see if I can get that. See if I can get the glacier. See what it's going to take to get this guy. Okay, not bad. I can work with that. Okay, cool. So we got that. Now we're going to do a subtract brush. And we're going to erase everything that's not the freaking glacier. Which technically does include that area over there. We're going to keep that. Actually, I'm doing this backwards. Delete that brush. Yep. This color range. Invert it. And then subtract brush just on the glacier. because I want to darken everything. I want the glacier to pop out. Yeah, all this darkness, all that dirt and stuff, that's all glacier, and there's even more of it, and there's even more underneath. There's actually the glacier that carved Glacier Bay National Park is actually, it is a, I believe it actually is called a black glacier, because right now it's still there, and it's pulled, it's receded a bit, as all these glaciers have, but it is. So we're just going to bring the shadows down on that. There we go. Move the blacks down a little bit, make that glacier stand out. Yes! Beautiful. But that glacier, the glacier that carved Glacier Bay, is to this point so covered in dirt and rock and stuff that you can't actually really see the ice through it. It is just totally black. Alright, let's do a... That looks pretty good. Bring that glacier out of there. You can bring the exposure down a little bit, makes it stand out even more. All right, let's do a new mask. Let's look at the sky, because I want to get rid of the noise up there and clean up a couple spots. Also playing roulette in my head for which song from Heathers is going to be in there. Bringing that up. Bring the saturation down. This is a shot that doesn't need the saturation down a bit. Let's push a little more toward blue. And this shot doesn't need a whole lot of... This shot's not about different colors. This shot's about blue. Done. Let's do some spot healing real quick. Yeah, 'cause that's huge. It's unnecessary. Zoom in up here. Gonna clean up a couple of spots on my sensor. I thought I got most of them, but then I was switching lenses a lot. So... spots I missed. That's one right there. Let's clean that up. Cool. Yep, there's our glacier. Done. And now I'm gonna up the exposure on the whole thing just a touch. Just by 0.4. There we go. So the whole thing sticks out a little more. Blues down a bit and still get that glacier in there. Nice. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I am gonna really quickly do one more mask on the glacier itself, because I do want to be able to play with that. Okay, cool. So let's increase that until I get kind of all the blues on the glacier anyway. And then we're gonna do a subtract brush, and we're gonna get rid of everything else down here. So we don't need this stuff. We just want the glacier. I'm doing this so I want to brighten it up a little bit more, and I also want to bring in I also want to up the texture a tiny bit. Let's get on. Having a little bit on the water here. By the way, fun fact, these little, let me zoom in here. These little white dots in the water, not quite Titanic sinking size, but those are icebergs. And those are hugely essential to the ecosystem of Glacier Bay and of Alaska, because that is literally the home habitat of harbor seals. And so without those icebergs, harbor seals have no place to live, and we lose that population. That population has a huge effect on the rest of the ecosystem. So remember I said glaciers dropping off chunks of ice, which is called calving, by the way. Glaciers calving, C-A-L-V-I-N-G, kind of like cows. Glacier dropping off chunks of ice is not a sign of global warming. That's weirdly a sign of, that's the thing a glacier should be doing. Let's bring the flow down on this one a little bit. And that is a sign that the glacier is healthy and it is creating a habitat for the harbor seals, which are important to the ecosystem. So here's another fun glacier fact. Got a lot of those. by the way, Shelby Lynn, I will bold-facedly let you know that I intentionally did not choose my absolute best photos for tonight, so that we could, so that if we do our little collaboration thing, we've got the best to pick from. So, if these are starting to spark some creativity, wait till you see my favorites. Not that these are bad. All right, so let's see. I want to bring the texture on that glacier. I want to bring the whites down a little bit. I want to bring the saturation up. There we go. Make that glacier stand out. Okay, now I can bring the whites up and let the whites be there. Highlights up a little bit. Shadows up a bit. Yeah, why not? Just brighten that up a little bit. If I do clarity, no, that gets too much. De-hazing is going to be way too much. Clarity and going the other direction is not going to help. Actually, a little bit. Going the other direction helps a little bit. It brightens up a bit. But I feel like we also lose color. Let's keep that where it is. Crank the saturation, and then de-haze a bit. There we go. That helps. Cool. All right. If you give me a bit, I'll actually be able to look up and figure out what glacier this is. But there we go. There's our glacier photo for tonight. All right, let's jump into the woods for a sec. Let's go to the rainforest. Let's go to the rainforest in Ketchikan. Let's see. Yeah, Shelby and I will take my time. Like, that's the other thing when we choose our photos for that collaboration. I will. Let's see, what have I got left? I've got a few more left. Cool. We will be picking photos that I can spend a lot of time editing. All right, so next thing, we're in the rainforest in Ketchikan, the Tongass National Rainforest. We're kind of right on the edge of it because we're walking through the area we were in was used to be a logging area, and we kept passing signs that said if you cross this sign, you're in the national forest. I'm gonna go ahead and merge this into a panorama because that's what this is. So video might skip a little bit. It's probably fine putting it together. It'll skip when I try to make tell it to render it. But so the Tongass National Rainforest, like I said, this is in Ketchikan, which gets an average of 160 inches of rain per year. And this is water coming in off of the Pacific, which then hits the mountains, condenses, and falls down. Tongass National Rainforest is the and this is a forest that stretches through a very big chunk of that southeastern peninsula of Alaska, and also into British Columbia and and even a little bit into the Yukon Northern Territories. This is the second largest rainforest in the world, second to the Amazon. That's a weird sentence to say. The second largest rainforest that I visited the second largest rainforest in the world, and it was in Alaska. Let's try boundary warp and see what that does. Looks pretty good. To fill the edges, what are you gonna do? Maybe. It's always weird when you've got intricate patterns like trees. It tends to either does it really well or does it badly. We're gonna see what it does. If it ever does it. Take your time. Nothing to worry about. There we go. That's looking a little weird. Let's stick with boundary warp. I'll go spherical with that. I think spherical might be better. I can just isolate this middle area. Need auto crop. What are you gonna do? Nothing, because I did boundary warp. Okay. Come back and forth on this one. This pulls out the shafts of light a little better. Let's go with this. All right, so we're gonna skip a little bit while this thing merges. I think. Yep, there we go. I'm frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm just gonna, straight poses. Drink this tea. Okay. But yeah, Tongass National Rainforest, second biggest rainforest in the world, behind the Amazon. Temperate rainforest, not tropical, obviously, but there is a name for it. It is gorgeous. I've got a couple pictures from inside of it, either on my phone, and I got one on here we can look at in a second. Because this is out on a boardwalk, kind of looking back into it. Again, a lot of the the trees in here are the spruce trees or are those red cedars. The interesting thing about a rainforest like this, there it is. There's our panorama. Love it. That tree in the foreground is really just beautiful. Interesting thing about this rainforest is that you get these hugely intricate root systems as these trees kind of connect to each other, but like there's like they tend to be kind of shallow. The root systems tend to be kind of shallow and more kind of spread out and intricate. So instead of going deep, they go out. They spread out. But that also means the trees here, in many cases, they grow up. They're not super tightly rooted to the ground, so they will grow up, and at some point they'll get tall enough, and they will just naturally, like, they will become too big to be rooted there. They will fall over, and they become what's called a nurse log for all kinds of other species of plants and animals and stuff. And they, in their own way, they replenish the forest as they go, and it's a really, really interesting ecosystem that happens up here in this rainforest. All right, so up in the clarity a bit. Like I said, we're going to do a lot of stuff with trees and fog. This is just the first of many, many, many ones we're going to do. I'm going to come in and kind of try to isolate this kind of central spot here, because I love that we got like trees here in the foreground that are a little more defined, and then we've got trees kind of in the background here that even like there we go. But if I zoom in here, you've got your more foreground trees that are more detailed. You got some that are on the fog, and you got some that are just disappearing into the fog, and it's gorgeous. Shakira, thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad you joined. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy watching more. And I got tons of photos to be doing, so hopefully you'll tune back in at some point. But thank you so much, and yeah, can't wait to see you at rehearsal. All right, let's De-Haze. Everyone's favorite, rapidly becoming my favorite thing to do with these photos. Yeah. That's gonna be the balance with using De-Haze on these photos is the decision to how much of this do I want, how much do I, like, De-Haze is there to help remove the fog, and how much of this do I want to remove. But this one with the detail I think is great. Let me adjust my angles off a little bit. Let's see like that. That's better. Cool. Alright, this is a photo that can absolutely be pushed. I'm sorry, put that back where it was. Thank you. In black and white, this one's pretty haunting. I've got a bunch of these that are going to be really good in black and white. I think I might do a black and white version of this. Let's start off just with this one. I bring up the highlights. Now, I want those highlights to kind of just be just to the point that I keep getting fog and they start getting gray. Whites, same deal. The whites are kind of just a blanket thing because there's so much white in the whole photo. Bringing the blacks down is a bit of a good idea. It gives a little more texture to it. My question is saturation. Oh, bring saturation, get some blues there. If I bring it up here, get a lot more blues. Okay, so let's work with the saturation. This is a picture that should be saturated rather than vibrant. Bring up some of those blues. Get a nice mix of blue and green and yellow in there. If I bring up the yellows, and I push them a little toward green. Kind of split the difference, something like that. That's good. Greens. I don't want to oversaturate this too much. Having some of those yellows kind of in the foreground I think is good. I don't want to overdo it. Bringing up the blues I think is cool. Is there any aqua kind of hanging out here? Not really. It's interesting that we can pass over aqua. Bring up some of those blues. Probably some purples in here too. If I bring up the purples, what am I going to get? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's bring up the purples. Let's leave the blues back where they're a little bit lower. That looks pretty great. I'm going to bring this down a bit. Done. Not sure why my thumbnail back there isn't updating. Oh, there we go. Now it's updated. Oh, because I was sitting on a different picture. That's why. All right, let's adjust this a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that up there. I think I like having this, this big white up there, and it kind of draws your attention to the edge, so you get kind of these trees sort of sitting in fog. I like that. I actually might bring the bottom up a little bit. That's better. Let this be about that. Cool. All right. yellow, but that's not bad. You know what? Looking at the cropping, I think I want that. I want the whole thing. Yeah, I want the whole thing. Whole thing's better. All right, let's go down to here and do some vibrant stuff. Can bring up the greens. That's pretty good. Make certain areas. I do like that a lot of times with tree photos, you have a good mix of kind of a mix of green and yellow. And this is the thing I found with the yellow, the orange, and the green sliders, kind of in general, is that most things that have one have it. Most things that look like they've got one of those colors have two of them, and one of them is usually more pronounced than the other, which means you can, like, you know, if I bring up bring up the greens, I'm not bringing up everything. I'm bringing up just certain little areas, which I really like. The blues there, I can bring them down. A little foggy, but I don't want to lose the detail back there. Let's go a little bit, and then purple is not really doing much at all right now. That's fine. A little blue in the middle there gives it kind of a little bit of a cauldron effect. I'm on board with that, yeah. I'm pretty happy with that picture. Let me bring this over a little bit. Actually, come to there. I want to make a mountaintop out of those trees. I like that a lot. Let's split the difference there. Yeah, that's how that photo should look. Rating, excellent. Let's do a second copy, which I believe is. There's the keyboard shortcut, Control apostrophe. So now we can do a black and white version. Once it figures out what it's doing. There we go, cool. So in black and white, down here with this, we can do a lot more. We can really lean into the fog. This photo has, of course, gotten pretty noisy, but not in a bad way. I think it actually looks pretty cool. Put the texture back. No, I like that texture. I like this weird detail we've got from the kind of the weird aberrations the fog is giving us. I like that. Black's down a little more. Fully de-haze it, we get that, which is a bit much, but that doesn't look too bad, honestly. Just put the highlights back. I'm kind of cool about that. Yep, get that up, put this down. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. All right, real quick, let's take a look at I'm not gonna edit this photo because I'm not sure there's much to edit on it, but this is one of these red cedar trees in the rainforest. So this is what a lot of the trees in that forest look like. This is all different types of moss that are growing on these branches. Interesting fact, so lower branches in trees, trees don't grow branches and then just grow beneath the branches. They grow branches and then they keep growing up from the center. So those branches, wherever they grew out, that's where they stop. Those branches are more or less left behind. And at that point, they sort of, especially on trees like this, they sort of become dead weight. So the fact that moss and lichen and these types of things grow on those lower branches, weigh them down, and sometimes help to break them off, is actually good for the tree because it's kind of helping lose dead weight, which is an interesting thing that I learned about the trees in these rainforests. These rainforests, more than almost any other forest I've been to. I know this is true of almost every ecosystem in the world. But this one it's very much the death of things is very much a hugely important part of the process. And it's, branches breaking off or trees coming down are very much the start of new things and are an essential part of keeping this ecosystem in the same vibrant way that it is. Absolutely beautiful up there. All right, let's see. Got a couple more fun photos to do. Let's do an animal. Let's do this duck. Look at this amazing duck. There he is. He's just perfect. Turn 4x5 on him. There we go. I'm gonna bring this down actually. Let's get a little space here. Line that up. This fantastic little duck. You can line its eyes up on the third. Extend this a little bit. Oh, I kind of want him about there. Yeah, done. Look at that duck. Just a great all-around duck. This is at 400 millimeters, so I'm zoomed in a good bit. But let's see what we can do with this duck. Texture or clarity is a good thing with him, I think. Texture might be too much. Let's see. Bit much. I think I'll do texture more selectively. De-hazing actually isn't going to help us too much here. We're going to have to do this old school and let's bring some highlights down so we're not overexposing him. And some shadows up is a good idea. Blacks down a tiny bit. Whites up. That's where it is. Okay, cool. So that's the start of our duck. I'll bring this down. Nah. Honestly, I kind of like something like that. I think that's kind of cool. Getting that. I center him a little more perfectly. Kind of enjoy the colors and the ripples on the water as well. You can enjoy the blue around him and then the trees above him. Again, I'm a big fan of trying to keep things in context on this one. And not, I've got a couple photos that are just like, here's a really cool close-up of a really cool thing, but for the most part, I wanted to try to capture the context and the relationship between everything and the environment, because the environment up there is so beautiful and so important. All right, so if I crank the vibrance, what do we get? That's a bit garish, but not too bad. Crank up the saturation, that's better. That brings up the golds. Brings up everything. Look at that fucking good duck. We're gonna do some more of that. We're gonna move the oranges here. I love the colors on this guy's beak are just gorgeous, going from this pink to the orange and just, yeah, like the whole rainbow in this duck. Absolutely love this. I'm fucking in love with this duck, guys. Welcome to Eric's bestiality stream. We're just gonna gush over how cool this duck is. Forget the glacier with the curves. No, we're all about ducks tonight. Just can't get enough of this duck. It's funny saying this on a stream with at least 2, potentially 3 of my partners. Just be like, right, yeah, no, I'm admitting here, I'm falling hard for this duck. Push the reds in his eyes. He's just so pretty. I'm assuming he's male. I don't know. Like, guys, I might be bi when it comes to ducks. I'm gonna put this blue a little bit. Yeah, actually, this is the one I can crank the greens. A little bit of yellow there. I want to leave the yellow where it doesn't just crank the greens up, because that's getting us that water texture. Oh, this looks like a stamp. I love it. What a fucking good duck. Yeah, let's keep the colors of the yellows up. Brighten up the red in the eyes, but I don't think we need to. I think that almost looks cartoonish. Let's leave them where they are. Purples on this duck, small bits of purple. I think I'm gonna leave those where they are. Can bring up the brighten those up. If I bring up the saturation, I'm increasing the saturation of the beak, and that's awesome. Let's totally do that. All right, now if I tell it to select subject, this one's pretty great. And here's the fun thing, guys. We got 2 more pictures after this one. I think just 2, maybe 3, maybe a third one. That's pretty easy. All right, not a bad job getting that duck. All right, we're gonna subtract some stuff around him while I talk, but we got a couple more pictures to get on this duck. Oh, the flow's still down. Crank that back up. A couple more shots to work on after this. We got 2 landscapes, and then kind of the favorite one I've been holding out on for tonight, which is a complete treat for you guys. It's a great duck, Steph. I completely understand. Like, households deserve to be disrupted for how good this duck is. Like, we are all humbled to be in his feathery presence. I'm not even on anything. I'm just in a good mood. There's that. Okay, cool. So we got the duck, and we want to bring up the texture on him so he really pops out really beautifully. Look at him. Look at him being perfect. I'm going to clarity on him a little bit so we soften him a little bit. I don't want to mess with his coloring, but I want to soften him a bit. So we keep the nice, the texture that we got out of him, while not losing the colors. Can de-haze him a bit and kind of darken him up a bit. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Man, what a good duck. It's a really good duck. Alright, done. Perfect. We've achieved Duckvana. Now that I think I'm out of puns, let's go to another photo. Let's do this one. Another one talking about context and layers. This is also in Glacier Bay. Notably, not with any glaciers, but we got some mountains and some ice fields, and I'm happy about that. And some fog. I love the fog. So, look, this one's gonna just, yeah, de-hazing this brings it all out, and that is gorgeous. That might be the only thing I have to do on this photo. Texture is gonna be too much because de-hazing kind of does that. Highlights, not so much. I want to leave the highlights where they are. I think I'm gonna bring up the shadows a bit though. Bring up the shadows, but I think I'll do everything else with color. But that is, oh, it's an easy photo, but damn, it looks good. Could push it a bit that way. I don't really want to. I like this to go a little bit away from blue. Go too far, that starts looking bad. But something like that. That's not bad. Something there. I'm gonna have to recrop this and find a new arrangement for it. But I love the texture. I love this ice field, or this snow field coming down. I love these, like, this one line of trees just in there, and then I love this whole little section here. Actually, let me try cropping this. Nope, that's all I want to do. I always forget the exact trick for getting this one to work. Nope, that stays where it is. Come on, I know there's a move for it, is it? Give me a sec. I'm gonna check something on. I'll look something up to make sure I'm doing this right. Let's see. Is it that simple? It's just in here and then hit X. Yep, that's what it is. Okay. I think there was a keyboard shortcut to do that, or a mouse shortcut to do that, but just as well here. If I do this at 4x5, one of our favorite ones to use, go a little bigger, a little bigger. There we go. Talk about layering. Yeah, there we go. That's bringing out in my mind, the soul of this picture right now. I do have other versions of this picture that are portrait mode, so I'll see what else I do with that. But all right, let's come down here and work on some color. But yeah, so much of this is just blue. I'm gonna push the aquas more toward green. Push the blues a bit. Nah, I gotta leave the blues where they are. Seriously, I tell this thing the fog is white, and and the mountains look purple. Isn't that great? That's fantastic. I'm gonna do this one black and white. Gives me a better chance to really bring out the texture and the layering of it. Cool. Just like that. Haha. Love it. This black's down a bit. So we're working on some colors here. Blue is obviously the big one. Blue is a bit much there. Bring the aqua's down a bit so we get some detail. Again, blue and aqua kind of work the same way as the yellow and orange sometimes. You get some nice, or one has a bigger effect than the other, like that. Greens. A little bit of greens. We'll bring the greens up, and that'll make stuff pop. Purples. There's some purples in the mountains up there, which I can bring up or bring down. Let's bring them down so we keep the contrast with the ice, with the snow up there. Let's see. Am I missing anything else here? This magenta. Not a whole lot of magenta or red in this one, I don't think. Red. Yeah, a tiny bit in the snowfield up there. We'll brighten that up as well. All right, let's check the noise. It's not too noisy actually. It's a little noisy. Let's go ahead and do something about that. Kind of the trade-off between keeping texture and noise reduction, but that's not bad. Let's bring it back to about there. All right, cool. So that one's done. That looks good. There's a bunch of those I'm going to be working on, so we'll come back to that one. All right, let's take a look at second to last photo for the night. Let's look at this one. Look at our, once again, the mixture of civilization with nature, which I think is sweet. Bring this in on both sides. Actually, honestly, this one might be going for a 4x5. So we can just, layers there just like that. Cool. Done. Excellent. Good start. I want to check something real fast because I was doing. Let's see. Do these update yet? Can I update these? These haven't been okay. Those are the ones I was working on my tablet that haven't updated yet. So we're gonna come back to Alaska and keep working where we are, which was down here because I did do some rough editing on this one on my tablet, but I'll sync that into I'll edit this one now. And we'll see what we end up with. All right, usual deal. Let's start with the clarity. Let's start de-hazing. There we go. Let's bring out what we want to see. Good. Highlights. Let's bring those highlights down. We want to get the detail down here with the boat and stuff. That boat's a little overexposed, but bringing the shadows up is a good thing. We're definitely be adjusting our greens and our blues there. So the clarity right where it is. Let's bring the texture up a bit. I think I want to kind of keep the texture on it. I think I really didn't shoot a whole lot with a shallow depth of field on this trip. Everything I was shooting was more deep focus, so that pretty much anywhere you look on a photo, we get a nice, like, we get the guy on the paddleboard here, we get these two people, this person falling off the boat. Is that what that is? What's going on in that picture? I'll be completely honest, I'm not sure what's going on there, but okay. So like, yeah, we can zoom in on the thing that's in the foreground, and we can still get some good detail. We can see the color of the shirt and the pants and the skin, and then we zoom in on the farther stuff up here with the trees, and we've got there's a house over here. Yeah, there's a little house over there. You can sort of see that. It's not really. If I go to 100%, yeah, like it's out of focus, but not by much. You can still make things out. So I kind of like to do that because I wanted to really lean into the texture of the world and capture everything, so that it feels, because this kind of photography to me feels a little more journalistic. Journalistic is the word. Yeah, no, it feels a little more journalistic because it really is. I'm like, I want to capture, like, without coming across like I'm presenting an idea. I mean, I am presenting an idea. I'm presenting an idea of like, look how close that we all, us living in some degree of harmony with nature and how beautiful it is to do that. But yeah, the idea of yes, Shelby Lynn, I agree. Write a limerick for falling person, falling off of boat 1030. Not sure what kind of boat that is. But yeah, I'm the image I'm presenting. I want this to feel like this is just. I mean, it is a picture I took. It doesn't have I didn't stage this. This wasn't meant to be you know, I'm not trying to present so much a viewpoint with the focus so much as just take a picture that's like, this is what the world is like, and we can live in it. Yeah, we're gonna adjust more to that side, and then I'll get the water back to the color we want it. But I want these trees to pop a little more and get these trees a little more green. Let's push them a little bit that way. That's good. Okay. So we'll start with that. And we're gonna bring up the greens. Really kind of lean into the lushness of them. Still a lot of yellows and oranges. We're gonna adjust that before we do anything else. All right. Really quick. 9,003, 5,850. Okay, so let's go back to 9,000. Opening my calculator on the other screen here, so 3,150. Cool. Come back to that in a sec. Let's try some selections. If I tell you to select the subject, what are you gonna give me? You're not gonna find the sky. What are you gonna give me if I tell you to find the subject? You're gonna give me the boat or the rock or? Okay, that's honestly perfect. That's kind of what I wanted. Okay, we're gonna use a brush. We're gonna add everything down here because I want to get this back to the right, to the original white balance. We're gonna get the boat in here. We're gonna get the water. We're gonna get the rock. We're gonna get our house. Like that. We're gonna get this rock in here. Nice. That pretty much could not have gone better. That went about as good as I could have hoped. All right. So now, temperature-wise, I want to bring this. So something. Kind of like that. Kind of back to what we had. And that is looking really good. And then we're gonna have some fun with it. Okay. Cool. So let's come down here and play some colors. I'm gonna bring up the oranges. Make them pop. There we go. I think our reds are a little oversaturated already, so we're gonna leave the reds kind of where they are. I'm actually gonna push the reds a little more toward a tiny bit. Maybe it looks like it's a tiny bit pink. I'm gonna push it a little bit toward orange, and then I'm gonna take the luminance and we're gonna bring it down just a touch so it stands out like that. Our blues, we're gonna push them a little more blue, just a bit. We're gonna up the saturation on them so they get a nice blue there. That's a bit much. Right, put that back. Bring this down a bit. Aqua do anything? Aqua's kind of hanging out with the trees up there, but that actually helps kind of bring these whole things together, and I like that. Push the aquas a little more toward green. I can push them toward purple. Let's push them toward green. Something like that. That's pretty great. All right. I can go to this mask if I want to. Actually, why did I think with texture yet? I did. I brought the texture. Okay, cool. I'm actually really happy with how this looks. It's a tiny bit blurred, but not enough to really bother me. Yeah. I'm genuinely really, really happy with that. Okay, the only thing I want to do here, oh, there's a person on a deck right there. Look, can you imagine living in this house and having a staircase down to this lighthouse and down to the water? Like, how fucking cool is that? Back to this mask, go back to the brush. And we're just gonna add this house back in. Make it stand out a little more. There we go. This a little bit here. Get our friend on the dock here. Where's the overlay? Let's see what we got. Okay, let's get this house. Let's get this thing down here as well. There we go. Bit of overlay off. Done. And pull back. That looks amazing. That picture looks absolutely better than I could have imagined. Set the rating, and I think we are good to go. I think I missed a little bit over there. Brush. I missed a bit. I think I missed a little bit. Yeah, definitely missed a little bit. Let's darken that all up. Turn the overlay off. Yeah, this area could use a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. Wow, that photo is blowing me away. All right, folks, the moment has come. The photo that is my favorite, kind of my secret one for tonight. And believe me, I got some great wildlife shots. I got some really cool ones. And tonight we are on seals. Look at these harbor seals, just hanging out in Glacier Bay National Park. They're so fucking cute. They're chilling on an iceberg. So we're working on seals. We're gonna have some fun with some iceberg seals. So yeah, let's do some seal work. Start with that. Obviously our highlights and our whites are too high up, so we're gonna bring that down. Look at that. Look at all this detail we can bring out just with that. Now I can recrop this photo because there's a lot more to look at. They're just good fucking seals. Hanging out on their ice floe. And again, you get told that, like, oh my god, these look at the sad animals sitting on an iceberg because their environment's gone. And I mean, yeah, that's a thing that is happening, especially up in the north when you are up, in the Arctic Circle and the Arctic Sea, where you've got where you've got polar bears and stuff who need that pack ice, and the pack ice is melting, and that's a problem. But seals, this is their natural habitat. This is where they give birth. This is where they do all the seal stuff. So this is not so much. This is normal for them. Clarity's the wrong way to go on this. De-Haze, also kind of the wrong way to go. I think we're better off doing this individually, doing this beat by beat. I'm gonna bring the blacks down a bit, but not much. I really don't want to bring them down. Let's bring the shadows down a touch. Do I? No, it's taking away detail. That's the thing I like about this photo. There's not much to do with it. We're gonna play with the saturation when we get into that. Oop, yeah, bring up the vibrance is a good idea though. Let's bring that up. Again, you'll notice this water when we bring the color in is also pretty light teal. In this case, Glacier Bay National Park is really cool because it's connected through, it's part of the inside passage, but it is connected to the ocean. So this water is brackish. It is salt. It's a mixture of salt and fresh. When you come into Glacier Bay, you can actually see you can actually see a line in the water, which is a crazy thing to think of. Like, we think of water water covers the Earth's surface and it's kind of just a homogeneous mix of water. But it's really cool when you come to Glacier Bay because you can actually see a line where the mixture of salt water and glacial melt and fresh glacial melt comes up against the pure salt water of the more the area outside of the park. So there is kind of a natural boundary, it's literally a squiggly line in the water that demarcates the difference. The water, once you're in Glacier Bay, which looks a lot like this, and you'll notice in many ways same color as the glacier we saw earlier, at least same color as the ice in it. If I take this guy, we did a lot of color work on it, but if I zoom in here, that kind of light blue, almost cerulean blue water or blue ice. That's very similar to what we see here. And that water it's kind of glacial melt fresh water on top with the heavier salt water on the bottom. But of course they're mixing, so it's not in the densities are different, so it's not an exact this isn't a B52 where it's an exact line. This is just this. But yeah, that's why this water looks the way it does, because most of this is glacial melt. Look at this guy, he's so great. Anyway, let's play with some colors. There's some colors on these seals. I obviously want to bring up the blues and really make that water look as fantastic as it is in real life. And I think the oranges or the yellows, which is better? Yellow isn't doing as much. I think we're going to be gentle with the oranges. I'm going to orange it up a little bit. I bring up the brightness of the yellows, yeah. So the brightness of the oranges, we're going to be brightening up the whole seal. That's what we want to brighten up the details. We want to just kind of lighten up a bit of seal. A touch of seal. Bringing up the aquas is a good idea as well. Yeah, you just want to swim in that water. You just want to, honestly, I'm sad I didn't get to drink that water, because that water looks absolutely, not the water here, because I know it's salty, but the water in up in Canada. I wish I'd gotten a chance to like dip a cup in it and drink it because it looked so fresh and refreshing and pure. Look at this fucking good seal. It was also really funny because these guys were, what am I at? I'm at 600 millimeters, so I'm zoomed in as far as I can go. But these guys were still very close to the boat we were on, and it was funny because this guy here, he's sort of looking up at us, and then he looks back at the seal next to him, and the two of them look at each other, and then they both look back, at us, and it was kind of a like, I don't know, it was a cartoon moment. This guy's just doing his thing. I don't know what he's up to. Just having deep seal thoughts, looking the other direction, or maybe he's got a grudge against Holland America and didn't want to look at the ship. But anyway, these are the seals, and they're just fucking great. That's the other fun thing, is I've got a lot of really good nature photos, but there's not a whole lot of work to do on them because it's really just look how fucking cool these seals are, or how great this like otter is. Because yeah, we got sea otter photos coming, and they're so cute. Sea otters are insanely adorable, even though they are like potentially vicious killing machines. But that's what makes them fun. Like, can you ever love anything that you're not totally, at least on some level, terrified of? It's the way of the world. All right, yeah, there's not a lot to do with these guys. I want to see if I can. Hey, buddy. I want to see if I can do a little bit with their eyes. See if I can give me a little bit of brightness in the eyes, because I always like it's the thing we always do with people. And I'm like, why would I not treat seals like people? I totally should. And that's just, I like to bring this terrifying image to the world. Clarity. That's a bit much. Texture. Exposure. Yes. Fear this seal. That's gonna be a little something. I'm not really sure it's doing much on these guys. Their eyes are pretty dark. It was worth a shot. Okay, so we got a little bit of weird green stuff happening here. Let's see if we can clean that up. Into our greens and just kind of. Let's see. Actually, I'd shift green's color to orange. That might clear it. Oh, it solved the problem. Mostly, yeah. It's pretty good. How's this guy doing? Oh, he's just being great. He's being a little over here and fluffy. By the way, seal fact, this one here, I can be 100%, I think. This great seal here, this one's more of an adult, whereas these two are more juvenile, because they're still a little bit, these are closer to being pups. Also seal pups, just that they come in pups is adorable. But yeah, these are closer to being pups because they don't have the full like spotted pattern. They've still got their little baby sort of fur and fuzz. But yeah, we got some seals. Let's come a little bit higher up and kind of do it that way. I like that better. I think I do, just a little bit. Those are just good seals. So yeah, got some cool stuff we looked at tonight. Got a lot of good stuff to continue working on. Absolutely gonna set the star rating on that one. Here's a cool little fun fact. Let me get to a shot of this was actually in focus. It's hard to say because this was a more dark area. I can brighten this one up. Yeah, a little bit. And Sharpays are already kind of chunky. So it's hard to tell with this picture, I think. But like, if you look at these three dark scratches here, this tells you there's bears in the area because this is where bear cubs are practicing climbing on trees. I'm not sure these shots are gonna come out. I'll have to do some work on them to really get that to pop. But like, yeah, like here's this shot's my camera's autofocused on the moth instead of the cub's claws. But let's go back out to 50%. But yeah, so that's the you got the three claws there, and there's the moth. So like, not a huge bear paw. It's kind of three little bear cub fingers. So that's just a cool thing to see. We're gonna reset that. But yeah, we got a couple more shots here. The trees and the fog that I'm gonna work with. And here's the thing. These shots of the trees and the fog I think are really cool. There is something, which I'm not going to spoil, but there's something kind of off to the side over here that I have a ton of shots of. It's always the trees and the fog were a bit of an afterthought because of how pretty that area was, because of the thing that's over there. So we got some great shots of that coming up when we start doing more wildlife. What am I going to do with this? What about this is weighing on me a bit. Let's work on this mountain. It's a little too blue, I think. That's not too bad. Let's get something. Getting somewhere. Let's do. I think it's because the green is so green and the blue up there is so kind of. So blue. If I push this to green, it gets like it's a bit much. It starts looking a little weird, doesn't it? I just leave it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like that difference was there from the start. That's a little better. Taking the clarity down, you still keeps. I don't know. I like that texture though. I really do like the shadows. Back to this. That actually, I think, is the way to do it. I think that actually works better. Now I can bring in that texture a little more. Now let's scroll down here to this one patch of blue down here that I can work on. Go with a little add brush, include that area there. Oh, that's too much. That's the exact opposite of what I want to do. Let me just the regular color overlay. Actually, don't even do the overlay. Just give me the color overlay works. This thing up here. Let's drop this flow. Let's add the brush. Put the flow way down. Sort of. Sort of work that area in a little bit. This area down here. This area over here. There we go. Helps kind of pull it out. Done. That looks better. I think that looks a lot better. Actually, I think I probably can bring the saturation up a little more here. Or push a little more toward gold. I like that's pretty cool too. I'm going to subtract brush back and keep the flow really low. I can do a little bit more of the blue up here. That's too much. Let's bring this up really big. Bring the flow down to about there. Let's just kind of gild the edges. Let's not do that one. Yeah, that works. Done. So yeah, let's do a for the end of the night. Let's do a comparison. Let's look at the before and afters. This one didn't change too much, but just kind of enhance the colors there. This one, before and after. Again, brought out the colors, brought out the details. But that photo really looked great by itself. This one, yep, really enhanced the colors on this one. Absolutely love how that one's coming along. Glacier, yeah, just brought up the colors, really pulled them out. Looks fantastic. This one, same deal. This will snap into focus in a sec. There we go. Gonna work on that one. Seals, we fucking love our seals. They look so fucking good. Let's see. We didn't edit those shots. This one, beginning and before and after. Looks good. You really find those colors in there. The thing you don't like the word I didn't expect to just use to describe Alaska when I went there was lush, and it just like, man, it really is. We saw this one. This one looks great. We saw this one. This one, just the vibrance there is gorgeous. And then we know about the duck. We're just, oh man, I'm gonna need some time. Yeah. But anyway, with all that said, let's come back to our glacier, because that is just beautiful. Yeah. All right. So these are the first 30 photos from Alaska. 5 or 6 edited. Just 2,000 more to go. This is gonna be great. Let's bring this back to this shot. So pretty. So absolutely gorgeous. This is gonna be the one. This is gonna be the poster, the photo that I post on Insta tomorrow. So just leaning into the beauty of that glacier. Did I have the texture on that guy? I feel like I should, but I haven't yet. There's the mask on the glacier. Yeah, texture all the way up on that guy. Cool. Excellent. All right, so come back to me to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being part of this. And yeah, we're back. We're doing photos. We've got so many from Alaska. There's so much of Alaska to see, and so many beautiful things to look at. Believe me, this is just a sample, and there's so much more to go. So yeah, on that note, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the comments. This was wonderful. And yeah, we'll be back with more Alaska and more awesome, like, beautiful shots of the nature up there. Some cool layered shots where we kind of mix civilization into the nature. And yeah, we got some more ducks. There's some real good ducks. There's also quick small thing. Ducks aren't the only really cool birds we got pictures of, and there's some really good wildlife to come. So on that note, good night, stay safe. Tomorrow we're on here late, hoping to finish up the first cut of B-52. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing, and we'll see you on the next one. So glad to be back. Glad to bring this to you. And yeah, we've got a whole lot of beauty to explore ahead of us, and that is not just a commentary on the photographs. So, stay safe, be well, be awesome. Good night.